One of the questions that I get somewhat frequently on YouTube, and now increasingly from people who have read my books, is why do you talk so much about grace? You don't talk about sin and judgment and wrath and hell nearly enough. You are, and this is the phrase that's been used, disarming the Bible. Now, as someone who writes and speaks specifically from a peace perspective, I would argue that is a good thing. I do not think that arming or weaponizing the scriptures is ever our goal, but I do understand the point they are making. The Bible makes significant claims on our lives, and we ignore or even diminish those claims to our peril. However, in conversation, what is often revealed is that the disconnect is not so much that we disagree about that reality. We both believe that the Christian faith makes extraordinary claims on our lives. The disconnect is how we imagine the scope of those claims. See, there are people who want preachers like me to talk about and point out very specific actions and habits, and they want me to get up and say, you should stop doing this. Or another way to say that would be, you should talk about how people who do this are bad. And I deeply, instinctively understand that desire. There is something very comforting about knowing these are the rules and I am living inside of them. But ironically, even though I don't think the phrasing is helpful, this to me feels very much like disarming the Bible. Because I think the scope of the claims that Jesus makes on our lives far outstrip any of the very specific claims that a book even as large as the Bible could ever make. See, the Bible can say, this specific thing in this specific time at this specific place is wrong. The way of Jesus can say, there is a path through life that you can follow, one that will ultimately lead you to life, but it will not come naturally to you, and you will have to search it out for yourself. And once you start down it for the rest of your life, you will continue to discover all of the best of yourself, but also all the worst that is in you, all that needs to be put to death every day so you can properly flourish. And that is a much larger imagination for the transformation God wants to work in us. See, as an example, the Bible could say something like, don't use the N-word, it's racist. That's good advice. But Jesus can say to us, well, that's a good start, but after that, you need to continue to interrogate your assumptions about each other. So you can uncover the ways that your implicit bias actually needs to be understood as racism and therefore continually, constantly challenged until one day you find yourself free from all of it. One is good. You absolutely should not use that word. But the second is what is actually life-giving for us. And when it comes to this idea of comforting ourselves by pointing to the rules, we can actually move beyond that to start engaging with the very hard work of allowing Jesus to lead us and change us. So no, it is true. I don't talk a lot about specific sins. It's too easy. We would all just sit here on Sunday and nod our heads. Instead, we talk a lot about racism and misogyny and all the ways we assume things about each other. We talk about the ways that we have to very consciously choose not to other people who are not like us. We talk about wealth and the pursuit of it and the way that capitalism can very easily take hold of our imagination and convince us that more is always the goal, that bigger and better can come without a cost for those below us on the economic ladder or the planet that sustains us even when we lose sight of it. We talk a lot about power and the dynamics that it creates, the ways that it can very quickly jump from a structure to a fundamental belief about the value of a human being. We talk a lot about who and what we give our attention to. We talk a lot about peace, not just in the laying down of arms, but in our relationships and our conversations and in our confrontations. And finally, we talk a lot about God. Because I believe that at the end of the day, the most important images in our lives, the way we actually believe God to be will do far more to shape our actions in the world than the rules that we work to hold ourselves to.